behind the scenes with future country rock blues kings and queens. Discover them first with Palm Bash TV. Palm Bash TV.
Well, hello there. It's Paul Mash TV time again. Thank you so much for joining us. Got another great interview coming up in just a moment. Before we get into that, there's that subscribe button and the bell. So if you haven't clicked those yet, click those, and then you're always going to be notified of any new episodes. And feel free to leave a comment on the comment section if you'd like. And check out the description part of this interview, and you'll see the contact info. And we'll be repeating the contact info at the closing credits at the end of the show. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that. On the show today, we have from Allstree, United Kingdom, we have Pete Colorado with us today. Very talented artist. I think you're really going to like this guy, and he's got a great song at the end as always. And we're going to get to that in a second because it starts right now. Okay, we're here with the interview, and with us from Allstree, United Kingdom, we have Pete Colorado with us today. Thanks for joining us, Pete.
Thank you very much, Paul, for inviting me to speak to you. And whoever else is listening, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, we're glad to have you, Pete. Tell us a little bit about how it all began for you. You know, everybody has their own story about how they found music. I mean, I'm sure you always wanted to be one since you were a little boy. Maybe it goes deeper than that. Tell us in your own words, though.
Well, the first time I think music, the very first time I heard anything was, I remember my mother singing. And my mother used to sing to me all the time. But I'm the fifth born of 8 kids. So when I was little, my mom used to sing a lot of songs. And one particular song that I picked up of her was a song that she sang, I think on A Good Ship Lollipop, which was an old Shirley Temple song. Well, this is the very first song that I learned because mom used to sing it all the time. And mom had a really, really great voice, you know. So she used to sing all the time. And then when I finally went to school, I remember my very first gig. I was in a boarding school, and master came up and he said, "Look," he said, "while we're waiting for the projector to be repaired, why don't we think of doing something and let's start with the juniors?" So my mates were sort of like edging me up and said, "Go on, you know." He said, "You can say anything you like." He said, "You can have a poem, say some poetry, tell a story. You can sing a song if you like." So my mates used to hear me sing this particular song, and they said, "Look, why don't you go up there and have a listen?" So anyway, he spotted these guys sort of like, just getting me on. So he called me up, and I was as nervous as heck. I was so petrified. And he got me up on the stage in front of the whole school, something like in front of about 800, 900 people. And he said, "What do you want to sing?" So he said, "What do you know?" So I said, "I only know one song." So he said, "What do you want to sing?" I said, "I want to sing a song that I learned off my mum." So anyway, when I started very, very nervously. You know, I was petrified. I was shaking. Of course, everybody around the back, and as the elder boys, as you know, in school, the guys really take the mick out of you. You know, they laugh, they heckle, all sorts of stuff. But very unnervingly, I continued, and I actually finished the whole song. And when I finished, they gave me a whole lot of cheers and everything. And that was the very first time I got a kick out of actually singing in front of people. So from then on, and then after that, later on, they showed us an Elvis film. Well, once a month, the school used to see a film. We never know what film they were going to show. But anyway, this particular time, they showed us Jailhouse Rock. I had never heard rock and roll like that. I had heard the name Elvis, but I had seen posters sort of like in the prefects' rooms and stuff. But I'd never heard anything about this guy, you know, till I actually saw Jailhouse Rock. And the way he moved, his style, the way he sang, everything about him was, I think, every kid's dream to sort of emulate, you know. And I thought, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be. So from then, I was raised in rock and roll, basically. And that is what I heard, and that is what I wanted to be, you know. But later on, as I got older, I noticed I started getting into, just automatically, I used to write a lot of poems. I used to have a competition with a mate of mine, and we used to write limericks to see who could write better things. And when I got to about maybe 15, 16, I was hearing bands like the Rolling Stones, the Kinks, all these various different bands, the Beatles. You know, I know in America they still talk about the Beatles today, though the Beatles were only together for 11 years. But anyway, I started picking up on something, and then I met a couple of other guys that I didn't really know, but they came down from north of London, you know. And there was one particular guy who played a guitar exceptionally well, and I got to know him. He was only 14, you know, and he played a type of music that I'd never heard before. And I recall now that what he actually played was Pork Salad Annie, which is Tony Joe White's music. I had never heard of Tony Joe White. I had never heard anything like it. And I asked him, I said, who's this guy the song is? He said he plays swamp music. I said, what do you mean swamp music? He said he sings songs about bullfrogs and crocodiles and cats and all these sort of things, you know. So I didn't know anything about Tony Joe. And I was still a young schoolboy. And I thought, well, how am I going to get anything like this? So with the pocket money that I used to get from my folks, I went down and I bought an album of his, a black and white album. And I made sure before I actually bought it that Pork Salad Annie was on it, you know. So that's the only reason why I bought it. So I started getting into songwriters. And so Tony Joe White and Neil Diamond were the two guys that I really took a fancy to. You know, I wanted to know what these guys were writing. I wanted to know how they wrote songs, how they got melodies, how good they were on guitars. And so that's the way basically I started from there. I mean, yeah, I was big on the Rolling Stones as I got older, because in England, we used to get a lot of shows and stuff. So like on a Thursday, we would get Top of the Pops. So we'd see whichever bands were actually climbing up the charts would be on Top of the Pops. And then on Friday would be a live session called Ready, Steady, Go. And all the other bands, the upcoming bands, some older bands, some young bands, would get a performance on Ready, Steady, Go. And then on Saturday, we would have Jukebox Jury. And on Sunday, we would have some cartoons, sort of like Pinky and Perky and people like that. And every time these pigs played a record, we would see the band in color. You know, so we were exposed to a lot of music that way, you know. And of course, as we were growing up, we had the Soul Invasion. We had the Wilson Pickett's, the Otis Reddings, the Simon Daves, all this, you know, Aretha Franklin was around. Then we had the Tumbler Motown and everything else. So we had, growing up, we had a variety of music, you know, and as kids, we just absorbed it all, you know. Some of the young bands were starting up. I remember I started a band when I must have been about 15 or whatever. And I bought an old Fender guitar. It looked like a Fender, but it wasn't. It was a Wem. No, it wasn't. It was a Futurama guitar, the make of the actual guitar. And it had a small Wem sort of amplifier. And it took me 3 weeks to actually pay off for this, because I had to like do odd jobs and whatever and get sort of pocket money. And this is where I was saving my pocket money to pay off these little musical instruments. So, you know, so that's how I actually started with music and stuff like that. But it all really goes, Paul, to my mum, really, because my mum used to sing all the time. You know, my mum had a beautiful voice, you know. And the very first song that I ever wrote, I wrote a song called You Made Me So Very Happy. It's still in the scrapbook, obviously in the songbook. It's never been recorded, but I wrote that for my mum. So that was my start of actually songwriting and my musical journey.
Oh, okay. Well, that's quite a story there, Pete. We glad that you could share that with us. I noticed you mentioned a couple of influences. I think you mentioned like the Beatles and Neil Diamond, Rolling Stones, so forth.
Yeah.
You know, those were great bands, especially like Neil Diamond. You know, I think he's still touring today. I'm not sure. So those were always great ones. Were there any other ones that really influenced you besides them?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have a specific choice of genre.
Mm-hmm.
If something is good, Paul, then I latch onto it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I used to watch the old musicals coming from America. Obviously, I can't remember the musicals from Britain, Okay, but I know the musicals that came from America, um, like the Roger and Hammersteins. I remember a film. I got into a songwriter, a guy called Irvin Berlin, because
Hmm.
I started going into songwriters in a big way. I loved music and everything else, but for me, the songwriters had a certain ring to them, because without the songwriters, you wouldn't have the music, you
Yeah.
know. And I remember I wanted to know when I heard Bing Crosby sing White Christmas, it wasn't so much of Bing singing White Christmas. I wanted to know who wrote it. And then I discovered it was Irvin Berlin. Irvin Berlin also wrote the music for one of your big sort of musicals called Top Hat,
Hmm.
which that dancer, that really hip dancer y'all used to have in Hollywood. Um, I forget his name, but I was I followed up all the music in Top Hat, and Irvin Berlin apparently was paid about $220,000 at that time for the music score. I mean, can you imagine what that would be in today's terms of money? So when you look back at Irvin Berlin, who died probably 100 years ago or more, you know, the kind of money that these guys were actually earning, the top sort of songwriters and musicians, you know. So quite basically, uh, most of the people that I followed were from your shows. Yeah, I love the Beatles and I love the Rolling Stones and I love the British bands, but the ones that really got my notice was the American
Hmm.
sort of bands. The American songwriter, the Neil Diamonds, the Tony Joe Whites, um, the Four Tops, all the Motown guys, the Otis Reddings, Wilson Pickett, Sam and Daves, Aretha Franklin's, all of these. This is the type of music that really got me inspired to be a songwriter and to be a musician. So I thank America for that, basically.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good, because like other band you mentioned, like Aretha Franklin, the Sam and Daves, all that. They were definitely legends for sure.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
how can we find your music? Because we're watching this video in just a moment or two for you, but where can we get more of your music? Can you get it on streaming platforms? Do you have an official website?
Well, I
All the
don't I don't have a website, but a lot of my music is on Spotify. But what I did do was I wrote a message song in 2022. In fact, I finished it in 2022, but it was a journey that started a long time ago. I wrote it, I found a story in a Marie Claire magazine, and I picked it up, and it was about the Ogoni people. Now, I'm pretty sure you've never heard of the Ogoni people. Okay. Now, the Ogoni people come from Ogoni land, Ogoni land is only 240 square kilometers, and it's right in Nigeria. It's right in the oil-rich Delta region. And when I picked up this story, it was just a one-page uh, sort of page in this magazine, and I flipped over the other side, and I think it advertised a perfume or something. So I thought, well, the girl's not going to miss this. So I ripped it out, put it in my pocket, and I took it home. And I thought, I've got to find out more about this. And the more I thought about it, I found it to be very, very political. And I thought, well, I've never been involved in politics. I've never written anything political, didn't have a clue about it. But Bob Dylan's name kept coming to me. And I thought, this is Bob Dylan's bag. You know, I really don't have a right to be writing anything like this. So, but then at the same time, I thought, well, Bob's a major star. He's a mega star. I'm nobody. And if anybody should write it, I found the story, I should be writing it. And I don't think I would like Bob Dylan to get hold of it. So I managed to write the song. I wrote a song called Common World. It was a tribute song, basically, for the Ogoni people and also for Ken Saro-Wiwa, who actually came out and spoke about it because Dutch Shell Oil got a contract from the Nigerian government to do some oil exploration. And this was right in the heart of Ogoni land because it was in the oil-rich Delta region. Well, the Ogonis got very, very little for this. They got a lot of illnesses out of it because there were 24/7 flares all over the country, all over their small little country. And their little sort of state or whatever is only 240 square kilometers, but it's an agricultural place. And they also had two fishing lakes. Now, you were either farmers or you were fishermen. And this is how they sort of made their living. So I wrote this song and I sent it just for feelers. I entered I entered the International Uni Song Competition in the States. And about maybe 4 months later, through the post, I got an envelope, and on it, there was a certificate, and it said below it that the song had helped raise $15,000 for Amnesty International. So I thought, well, this is great. I would have sent it in for world awareness just to see how people would react to it. And so I did it the following year, and the same thing happened. Well, come in 2021, October of 2021, when I actually finished the song completely, I got a tip off. Somebody said to me, look, there's this guy who's looking to make a charity album, and he's looking for songs, asking globally for songwriters if they've got any songs for it. So I thought, well, okay, the song has done well once before, so I'll enter it. So I sent it over to him, and about probably just after Christmas, he said to me, I got an email, and he said, by the way, he said, your song's being selected for the album. He said, but the album won't be coming out till maybe 22, maybe May in 22 or something like that. So anyway, I gave him everything that he needed. The album came out. It was released on the 19th of May, 2022, on Spotify. It was called the Numberella Charity Album 2022. And that was it. And then about a couple of months later, he sent me another email, and he said, by the way, he said, have you seen the stats? I said, what stats? He said, on Spotify. I said, I don't even go to Spotify. I said, I don't listen to Spotify. He said, well, your song has smashed the album. And I went, what? He said, yeah. He said, your song has smashed the album. So I thought, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? I'd never heard the term smashed before. I was thinking like ruined, you know? Mm-hmm. And so anyway, then he sent me the stats, and he said, you're getting something like over about maybe 875 sort of streams a week. So I thought, well, that seems to be quite a lot. So anyway, he sent me that, and I said, what is it all in aid of? And he said, well, it's to generate money, to try and make money, to help the underprivileged kids, he said, in Bangladesh, he said, to try and give them a chance of schooling. So I thought, well, okay, the song is, in that respect, the song is doing well. And because a lot of people were making money, and I've never made a penny from it, Paul, you know, I decided this year that I'm going to try and push the song myself, you know. So I don't have a website. I pulled that down because I was getting a lot of foreign sort of people on it, and I couldn't understand a word of it because I had a website with CD Baby, and I thought, what am I going to do? I can't understand what these people are saying, so I decided to pull it off, and that was it. So I don't have a website. I enter as many competitions as I can. Obviously, I got your contact from Caden. From Caden, I got an actual, when I sent him Come On World, the actual song, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you in an email so you can listen to it. Tell me what you think. And I got somebody from Chicago, Bray Magazine, who wanted to interview me. So I spoke to them, and I had a very, very nice interview with Ellie Ellis. And she's going to put me into I think the spring magazine or something. The magazine comes out about 4 times a year, but there's going to be a spring magazine, and she's including me in it, which is quite sweet of her to do so. You know, and then of course I've had the Massachusetts thing, and now I'm speaking to you, and he's given me such a list of people. I'll be forever and a day trying to contact all these people, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, all of it, but I shall try and do as many as I could. So to get to know as many people. And he also sent me something. I heard something from, I don't know if you've heard of them, Ramona Moniz or something. He sent me something today, and so I gave him Back at My Side, which you've got, and Back at My Side is number 7 in the charts, in their sort of country charts, which I think is amazing. You know, I never ever thought the song as a country song, but if it crosses over, then who's to complain?
Yeah, well, that's pretty good too. You got it on streaming formats too, though, like Apple Music, Amazon Music, Tidal, Spotify, or can you find your music on any of those sites?
Yeah, but I never ever go to them, Paul. So I don't keep a check on
Oh,
who's playing what or who's listening to what. But
okay.
what I have actually been thinking about is maybe it's time that my songs started making some money for me, because I wrote songs for pleasure, obviously. I wrote them because I like them. Okay. If other people like my songs, then great. That's a bonus for me. But I'm also thinking that perhaps maybe sometime this year, I might even send out a couple of releases, but I might do it through CD Baby. So maybe it'll go on all the different, I don't know, digital programs or whatever, digital sort of sites. And hopefully it might generate some money for me, which will be a great thing, which in turn helps me produce more music. So whatever I'll get will go back into music.
Okay. Well, if you're on any of those streaming media sites, I'm sure you'll find all of his music on there. So check that out. And we're getting ready to play this music video from you. Let's see, it's called "Back at My Side."
Yes, it is.
Well, tell us a little story about that one. We'd love to hear about it.
Actually, back at my side, I wrote some time ago. My brother was going through a divorce. Okay. And I didn't know it was happening. I went over and visited him one Saturday morning, and he seemed to be at a very, very loose end. And I said to him, I said, Jeff, what's bothering you? He said, my wife's asked me for a divorce. I said, a divorce? What for? He said, well, to cut a long story short, he said, things have just not been happening, whatever. So I wrote back, and so I went home. I just picked up the guitar, and I only had two chords. I had E and I had E minor and something else, and I'm just playing around, but further up the chart, further up the neck, and then it just came to me, and because I kind of felt what he was going through, I actually wrote Back at My Side because I knew how much he still loved her, and he said, I really don't want a divorce. He said, but if she wants a divorce, he said, I've got to go along with it. So anyway, I demoed the song, and at that particular time, I was with the Songwriters magazine, which came from Ireland, from Limerick City in Ireland.
Mhm.
And in it, there was an advert. There was this guy, Mike Leahy, and he was asking for songs. He said, because lot of soul stars from America were actually in Belgium at the time. So I didn't know what to do. I had this demo, and I sent it over to Mike Leahy. And I sent him about two or three other songs because I know Rufus Thomas was there, Carla Thomas was there. There was a Belgian sort of, I think she's Belgian, but her name was Reggie. She had a hit song some years ago with Last Night a DJ Saved My Life. I don't know if you've ever heard it. Maybe, I know it was a big hit in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I sent them that. Mike wrote me a nice letter and he said, look, there are a whole lot of singers around here. He said, and I'm going to try and push your songs. He said, no BS. He said, I'll get back to you. Of course, then some time later, I was out at the time, and my girlfriend, who was at home with me, picked up the phone, rang, and there was a guy, apparently, a guy called Blade Hunter. I thought, who's this Blade Hunter? But his real name was Ben Barsi, and he was ex Kool and the Gang. And he asked, he said, I've picked up this song in Belgium. Said, we're Back at My Side. He said, and does Pete play guitar? So she said, yeah. Can I speak to him? But of course I wasn't there. So she gave him another phone number. He followed that phone number up. And then my mate and I, we used to go up to Tottenham Court Road every weekend. We used to hang around all these guitar shops, and we used to go trying different guitars out. And we used to spend our time up there, go to Chinatown, have a meal and that sort of thing. And anyway, so Ben left it with this publishing company called Sleeping Giant.
Mm-hmm.
I got a letter from Sleeping Giant, said, a friend of ours has left a song of yours called Back at My Side. It's causing a big buzz around in the publishing office, and we'd like to talk to you about it. Can you come up and see us? So anyway, I was working in Reigate at the time. So I went up from work. I was still, jumped in my van, drove into the West End, and I went down to Barter Street, and I met Keith Thomas, who was the CEO of Sleeping Giant International. And he said, look, we really, really do like this song, and we'd like to sign it or whatever. So I said, look, there are 4 people that have actually written the song with in mind. I said, there's Mick Hucknall of Simply Red, there's Joe Cocker, there's Paul Young. I said, and there's me. He said, well, we never thought about you. I said, well, why not? I said, it's my song. I said, I wrote it, you know. So he said, well, we'll have to have a think about that. But in the meantime, they got somebody, a guy called George Williams. George Williams used to be with a Philadelphia band called The Times.
Mm-hmm.
They had songs like Miss Grace and a couple of other hits. So George did an album, went over to Bandhouse in Germany and recorded an album. And my song, Back at My Side, is on George's Shades album. Now, his Shades album came out, I think, in 1994, 2004, somewhere around that. Because so I was pretty young when I actually wrote the song, you know, and I had demoed it, and then I thought, well, can I release it? So it was only maybe about just a few weeks ago, after I sent it to Caden and everybody else, I thought I'd better check with the publishing office, you know. So I got in touch with them and I said, look, I said, I've done a really, really great version of Back at My Side. I said, it's my version. I said, and I'm thinking of actually promoting it. I said, I have an opportunity to promote it in the US. I said, do you have any problems with that? So they wrote back and said to me, well, no, they haven't. They've got no problem. Because to be honest, Paul, I financed it. It's my song. I wrote it. I financed it. So I own the 60-40% of the publishing rights, and I own the sound rights outright. So it's also registered with MCPS and PRS in London. So to be honest, they really don't have any problem with it. They wished me luck, and they said, look, okay, just the one thing, can we have a copy of it? So I sent them an MP3. So they've got it. So they're aware of what I'm actually trying to do with it, you know? So that is basically, you've got it now. I think with Caden, they went out to about 7,000 plus radio stations.
Okay.
He sent me something today from Ramona Moni's, I think, country charts or something. And my song, Back at My Side, is number 7 in their charts. You know, so I thought, well, that's a great thing. My song I don't think it's a country song, but if it goes down well with the country folk, then that's brilliant for me.
Okay.
But there's
yeah. I was just going to say, yeah, it is a great song, by the way. And I think we're about running out of time, so I'm going to have to end it here. But I just want to thank you for being on the show. We'd love to have you back again sometime, Pete. And
thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for giving me your time and for giving me the platform to speak.
Yeah,
so thank you very, very much.
Yeah, no problem. And like I say, come back anytime. But right now, here's the song, and it begins right now.
I'd never had seen the light till you walked out of my life. Hey, I ain't gonna stop till my body drops, and I have you back at my side. Sure enough, I've been a fool, and I'd say now that I've broken all the rules. Hey, and this heavy load on life's gravel road ain't gonna ease till you're back at my side. With you and I, we could talk this through. There's so much of me inside of you. This lonely heart, hey, that keeps tearing apart. It's trying to save its hide oceans too wide. Now I need you back at my side. It's getting harder with every day, as my grip on you slowly slips away. Hey, and another time and another place, I'm gonna see your face back at my side. 'Cause baby, I'd never had seen the light till you walked out of my life. Hey, I ain't gonna stop till my body drops, and I have you back at my side. You and I, we could talk this through. There's so much of me inside of you. Tearing apart, just trying to save its hide of wanting you back at my side. Baby, now I know I never should have let you go without you. Oceans too wide. Now I need you back at my side. Baby, now I know I never should have let you go without you. Oceans too wide. Now I need you at my side.